Here's a quick question for you. What is the best looking car you can buy, both inside and out, for less than 50 grand? Well, if you ask me, it just might be the Mazda 6, flagship of the brand's passenger range, and a car that's just been updated with new technology. Unlike most midlife updates, Mazda hasn't reworked the look of its top sedan. And that's good, because it would be easy to wreck this car's appearance for the sake of change. Instead, the tweaks are all under the skin. Now this is a midlife facelift for the Mazda 6 that came to Australia in 2013. The engine remains unchanged. You've got a choice of petrol or diesel power, both 4-cylinder engines, both driving the front wheels through a conventional 6-speed automatic transmission. But what you do get is the addition of Mazda's G-vectoring control. It's an interesting form of technology that essentially makes tiny little adjustments to the throttle as you're driving to put more weight on the front axle or on the rear axle, basically to make the car feel smoother on the road. The top end model, Atenza, that we're driving now, has improved radar cruise control and autonomous emergency braking systems that are able to detect pedestrians at higher speed, 80 kilometers an hour as opposed to 30 from before, and able to avoid accidents now at speeds of up to 160 k's an hour, though that's probably a bit fast for you to be driving and relying on that kind of technology in Australia. The Mazda 6 is the technology leader for the brand. It's got stuff that you don't really find in other models like the Mazda 3 or the Mazda 2. Every time you use the brakes, it basically harvests a bit of energy and uses that to run the headlights and the air conditioning, the windscreen wipers, all of that sort of stuff, so that you're putting less strain on the engine and in turn using less fuel. It's almost like a hybrid system, except that it doesn't actually send any drive to the wheels through a battery or an electric motor. Instead, it harvests the electrical energy for good use throughout the car. And on the inside too, this car really has stepped it up a notch. The Atenza that we're driving right now has some beautiful touches. We've got this titanium look trim throughout the cabin. There's strips of it on the dash here and surrounding the gear selector. There's additional little aluminium and chrome elements. And I have to say, it really does start to feel like a Lexus or something like that. It really does have a premium edge that makes this quite a special place to be. There's been a few other changes to the interior of the Mazda 6. We've got this small, compact and sporty steering wheel, and a tiny little airbag gives you a really clear view of the instruments, which have been reworked to make them look a little bit sharper. You've also got a full color display off to the side here that shows you your fuel economy and all sorts of useful things like that. If you've driven a modern Porsche, it's a little bit like that. And then you've got this cool digital screen that sits off to the side of the Speedo and Tacho, displaying pretty much whatever information you want it to. Now, this being the top-end Atenza model, we've got some other toys to play with as well, including a heads-up display system that now has color graphics, which is always great to see, and things like traffic sign recognition. So whenever you drive into a new speed limit zone, the car's camera picks it up and displays it here. So I can see right now that I'm in a 60 zone, and that's a really good thing to know, particularly with all the speed cameras and things around these days. Just having that little bit of information over your shoulder is great. And what's clever about it is that it doesn't necessarily rely on GPS. Now on the road, the Mazda 6 remains one of the better cars in its class. It has excellent road holding afforded by the grip from its big wheels and tyres, and quite precise steering as well. You always feel that this is a car that will go exactly where you point it, and that's always a good thing to have. Now, it's front-wheel drive only, unlike some of its rivals such as the Subaru Liberty or VW Passat that you can get with all-wheel drive. Most of the time, that's really not a problem. If you're in dry weather, you're really not going to notice it. If you're in the wet, as we are today, then maybe you just need to be a little bit more careful with the throttle. And of course, you've got traction control to help look after you. There's a lot to like about the Mazda 6, but one thing that I've never been too enamored by is its engine. The 2.5-litre 4-cylinder petrol engine in this car just feels a little bit underdone. I mean, we're cruising around just suburban Melbourne at the moment now, and it's really not doing life hard at all. It feels perfectly adequate. But when you're on the highway, or if you want to press on a little bit, it does like a rev. It's a bit noisy, and it just doesn't feel as smooth as some of its rivals. The car we're driving here is a petrol Mazda 6 Atenza sedan, priced from $45,390 plus on-road costs. But you don't have to spend that much. You can buy a base sedan for just $32,490. The wagon version costs an extra $1,300, and the diesel engine option costs $2,850. The new Mazda 6 is on sale now.